Now, I've got to be honest with you, listeners. When I first heard the band Him, I was totally not into it. And I was working in a Hot Topic store, and we were forced to play this record over and over again. So if you were working like an 8-hour shift, half of the time you were there, you were hearing this band Him. And anytime you're working in an establishment where you're forced to listen to certain bands or certain music, you automatically want to hate whatever band it is you're being forced to listen to. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that I was working with at the time just hated this band called Him that we were forced to play. Or at least we thought we hated it, because what would happen is eventually you would learn all of the songs, and then you'd kind of start singing along, and then you secretly liked it, but you wouldn't tell anybody. And then after a while, you just kind of were like, hey, I really dig this. These songs are really good. And that was in the Razor Blade Romance era. That was right before Love Metal came out. So by the time Love Metal came out, I was already a fan. So I guess it's fair to say that I would have never imagined all these years later that I would be interviewing Ville Valo on the radio. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, the man who has the best logo in the history of music as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Ville Valo, welcome to the Louvau Show.
Splendid.
Ville, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How's Arizona this time of the year?
It's actually the best time of year to be here because it's usually like 110, 120 degrees during the summer, and it's just cooling off.
Yeah.
Now, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Helsinki at the moment, so it's ridiculously cold. It's ridiculously dark. You know, the sun's setting around 4 p.m. You know, so it's like the days are getting shorter and shorter. So it's terrible here. You know, we can't wait to fly over in a wee bit and see a bit of sun.
Yeah. Do you ever think this time of year, especially where you're from, does it help influence your writing when it's 4 o'clock outside and it's dark and you're sort of miserable?
Well, I think that everything affects, and a couple of times we've been recording around this time of the year or so, like and we start, you know, when you start rehearsing new material during spring or during summer, and then you really get into the songs when the leaves start falling from the trees and it starts getting colder. I'm sure that usually the albums tend to turn out way darker than the ones that you're actually recording somewhere. Let's say Los Angeles, where it's always sunny. You know, it's tough to get to that super melancholy, you know, Scandinavian mood with all the excitement around.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want to go outside, so you get a sunburn.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You know, you just the only thing you can do is not to go out at all. You know, basically. But no, it's just funny. You know, because I think there's about like 8 albums we've done so far with the band, and we have recorded all over the world and mixed all over the world, and it's quite interesting because obviously the surroundings affect, and it's same touring. You know, when meeting people and seeing new places, everything affects, and everything is inspirational. It's just a matter of where you take that inspiration from there, you know?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, was, you know, when you've made so many records and, you know, you're obviously a completely different person than you were most likely from the first couple records up until now, and everyone's sort of got, you know, used to the melancholy vibe of what you do musically. I don't know if you can stay pissed off and miserable forever, but I would imagine that one of the ways that you kind of keep this fresh is by, you know, continuing to go new places to make records and see new things to sort of channel, you know, a vibe. And
well, you know what I think is that for bands such as ourselves that we've recorded many albums, you know, it's good to keep the band on their toes. You know, whatever it might take, you know, it's good not to feel too comfortable when working on new songs or when recording new songs. There has to be this sort of element of danger, and there has to be some fear as well. You know, when it becomes too easy and too same old, then you'll definitely do something wrong, and that's when the adrenaline won't be flowing, and that's not when you're not going to be pumped enough. Especially for rock music, it needs to be heavy, loud, and tragic, and there has to be despair, and there has to be, you know, it has to be really extreme, like get into the extremes of different kinds of emotions. So you can help those by obviously picking great people to work with, interesting producers and characters and studios, just to be able to make sure that it'll be a challenge, which recording an album should always be.
Do you have this limited edition box set coming out and remastering a lot of the classic hymn records. When you decided to do that, did you go back and kind of go through each one of the releases with a fine-tooth comb and kind of just go back and listen to what you did and see how you felt about it, today compared to when you made them?
Well, it's kind of odd in two ways because I was listening to a lot of the old stuff when putting together the stuff. I was listening to them more from a technical point of view. I was just trying to make sure that they can be the best they will be and so forth. So it wasn't really an emotional journey when it comes to the actual albums. But then what was super fun and exciting and made me giggle, and it was a trip down memory lane, was looking for all the B-sides and the rarities and so forth, because, I think I got together like 8 songs for each and every album that have never been released before in Europe or in the States. And that was fun, because I found like hundreds and hundreds of CDs, unmarked CDs from different studios, and I had to listen through all that stuff and try to figure out from what year it was and what sort of stuff it was, and that was really interesting, and that was fun. That was proper fun, and that made me feel ashamed at times, and feel a bit like blushing at times, and all sorts of it was a lot of mixed emotions in a positive way, because it's funny to hear stuff that, from so many years ago. It was like 20. I think the oldest stuff is nearly 20 years old, and so I haven't heard it in as long a time. So for me, it felt completely new, and I was like, who the hell are these guys playing this kind of music? It was a highly entertaining thing to do, but I wouldn't do it again, like in, let's say, 20 years.
Yeah, well, you got 20 more years. You can put out another box set, and I'm sure the technology will have changed again, so you'll have to go revisit the stuff that you just put out too.
Exactly, that's the idea.
Out of all the records, what's the record that still, to you, after going back and listening to them, really is probably your proudest moment?
The albums that I was just like, what we were talking about, the older ones, there's an album called Love Metal, and for some reason that's the one that resonates with the guys in the band, and there was something magical about when recording the album. It was like it took a lot of work, and we didn't know where to go after the previous album, and we kind of had to rethink the band and kind of learn, find ourselves again as a band and musicians, and we did that through listening to a lot of Black Sabbath and Type O Negative and just being fans of music as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel or so forth. And so that was a great project. Recording the album was so much fun. We went to the States to mix it. We mixed it in Los Angeles in a place called The Screen, where they mixed Nevermind by Nirvana as well. A little cool studio in the Valley that doesn't exist anymore. And there was a lot of firsts. We did our first touring in the States after that album was out, and met a lot of new people. And it was a big kind of like a turning point for our band. So I would say Love Metal brings the most, memories and good memories to my mind when listening to that.
Love Metal is my favorite hymn record for sure.
Okay.
So I'm on the same page with you. And I remember hearing it for the first time and totally getting the Sabbath vibe. So again, I'm I'm glad that I felt the same way that you did, and that's really cool. Because here in the States, I was actually working at a Hot Topic store where all of a sudden, you open up a box that they send you every day to put in your store, and there's a poster of you from Razorblade Romance, and I'm like, who is this guy? I've never seen him in my life. Like, and all of a sudden, a couple more days would go by, and there'd be more hymn stuff in my shop, and then they sent us the Razorblade Romance record, and we were forced to play it for about 4 hours out of an 8-hour shift. So I became very...
I'm sorry to hear about that. I'm sure it could be worse. It's probably actually way worse these days in Hot Topic. I can't even imagine what they're making you listen to, right?
I haven't been in Hot Topic in worked there in 15 years or 10 years or something.
Yeah, but you know what it
oh yeah.
Well, let's say it cannot be any better.
Right. But I just remember having to get very familiar with that record, and there wasn't really anything that was like it, and so I didn't really know what to do with that record at first. I wanted to hate it because I had to play it all the time, and then eventually you start learning the songs and all the words to the songs, and they really set everything up for Love Metal, which when that came out, I just thought that it was such a great second helping for me of getting used to what you guys were doing, and I thought it was a great record.
Oh, well, that's how we felt too, and yeah, it's so weird for our band because we kind of like a development or us getting any recognition in the States. The whole is so different. Because we've been already started touring in Europe back in '96. So we had already like a history for 7 years, 8 years before we flew over. So it was quite nice to have like two parallel histories and two parallel kind of like reality as well, because people seem to gravitate towards different songs and different albums in the States than in Europe, and that made it super exciting for our band too, because we didn't know what to expect. It was very acidic.
So over the years, I've only seen you play festival shows in the States. I've actually never seen a headline show. So I've never, it's always been the daytime, and it's really not the experience that I've wanted to have at a hymn show. So I'm really excited that you're coming to the Marquee Theater next month, so I can come check out a proper gig.
Well, that sounds great. Yeah, hopefully you can make it to the gig. I'm sure they'll be blessed. And it'll be great for. It's going to be fun for our band too, because we know that this is going to be the last tour for We Did, so we can really, we don't have to think about the future. We can really live in the moment and just scream our lungs out and not think about tomorrow. And that's the kind of like the best thing they can be when it comes to rock and roll.
Yeah. So you're going to take some time off after this then?
Yeah. Well, then basically after that we're playing one show on New Year's Eve in Helsinki, and then that's going to be it for touring for a while, because then we've been on the road more or less on and off for about a year and a half. So that's a long time for us. So it'd be nice to sit down for a wee bit and slowly but surely start working on some new stuff. So that's the basic idea, so this is going to be not a farewell per se, but sort of like a bye-bye for now tour, which, so it'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it's like a quick, 8 or 9 city run too, right?
Yeah, it's a real, it's a short trek, and originally the box set and the vinyl thing was supposed to be coming out for the tour, but there was some hassle with the manufacturing plant and whatnot, and it seems that some of the stuff is going to be available a wee bit later, and blah, which is pain in the butt, but what can you do? So we're still, still going to enjoy it, and we're heading over to the rehearsal place, I think, early next week, and try to figure out what to play, and we're gonna try to play a lot of stuff we haven't played live before. So it's going to be fun for the band too. So it's not like the same old record.
Okay, that's good. Tell me about some of the lower points, that kind of came back to you when you went and revisited these records.
Well, I think, if you really start searching, the low points are usually always something that have happened on a personal level. We've been, most of the guys, we've known each other for a very long time since we were kids. And so like the bond, the kind of like friendship that's lying there underneath is very strong. And I'm sure that many bands would have folded underneath the pressure and maybe the moment of not being so successful and so forth. But we've always maintained, the friendship through a ridiculously bad sense of humor. And that's one of the things that keeps us going, I guess. It is terribly hard to, record an album when you're going through a breakup at the same time, but, stuff like that. But it happens to everybody. It's the same thing as whatever you do for living, if all of a sudden there's a big change in your personal life,
it overshadows everything.
Falling in sick or whatever. It's confusing, and it's tough when you have to be in several places at the same time, and you have to try to take care of the people you care for, but at the same time you have to, get the bread on the table. So I think it's more about those things. So in that sense, there hasn't been bad low points with the band. It's always been with the individuals. I think so far we've always sorted it out one way or the other.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or mention here while we got a minute or two left?
I'm kind of excited about just getting back to the rehearsal place with the guys. It's like, we have like more than 20 songs we haven't played in a long time. Some of them we never played live, so I'm excited. I have to learn all the lyrics we have a rehearsal in about a week, and we're playing 39 songs, which is for us a lot. So we're trying to figure out what we're gonna take along with us on tour, and what we're gonna throw away with the bathwater. But I'm being like kid in the candy store, and want the show to get back on the road.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna let you go. Don't want to keep you. I'll see you when you're here, man.
All right.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, fantastic. See you in a few weeks, and take it easy, and thank you.
No problem. Be safe.